Hello and welcome to Birdsview English. We are excited to share our new platform that will tell amazing stories about the culture, history and progress of Bangladesh and South Asia. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook, YouTube and Spotify. At Birdsview English, our goal is to share Bangladesh's story with the world. Through interesting talks, inspiring stories and expert opinions, we want to show the successes, challenges and unique culture of this lively region. We are happy to have experts from around the world with us. They will share their ideas on many topics like development, culture, innovation and partnerships. They will help connect Bangladesh, South Asia and the rest of the world. Join us as we celebrate and share these wonderful stories. Let's work together to make Bangladesh voice heard globally. Thank you for being part of this journey. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon, wherever you are joining from. Welcome to Birdsview English Episode 8. We are live on YouTube and Facebook. The recorded version will be available immediately after the program concludes. We encourage you to share this on your YouTube and other social media platforms so that more distinguished individuals may join the discussion. Their valuable comments and insights will allow us to present diverse perspectives to a wider audience. From the Shahbag movement in Bangladesh to the Durbar revolution in Nepal, young people have been on the front line of change in South Asia. Their energy, anger, and aspiration have created historic moments of protest and revolution. But what's driving this new generation, and where are these movements leading us? We have an incredible panel today to explore these questions. Let me introduce those people to our audience. First, I'm bringing in Mahaharsha Rawal. He is a participant of the 2025 Nepal Revolution, speaking directly from experience and joining us from Nepal. Rawal, it's a matter of great pleasure and honor to have you on our show. How are you today?
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm doing good. So yeah, I'm doing pretty good right now. The country situation is stabilizing in some sorts, but yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Thank you.
Glad to know things are getting better. Now bringing in Saiful Islam. He's one of the participants of the 2024 Bangladesh Revolution. We are so happy and honored to have Saiful Islam in our show today. He's joining us first time to the Birdsview English episodes. Saiful Islam, we cordially welcome to our show.
Thank you so much Thank you so much for inviting me. Actually, I was searching for this kind of platform to share my thoughts. Actually, what happened to me during the July Revolution. So I'm pretty good and very pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
We are so excited to have you and welcome you on the show. Now bringing in Krishna Acharia, a prominent Nepali journalist who has closely followed Nepal's youth-led protest and also followed Bangladesh Revolution back in 2024. Mr. Acharia, glad to welcome you in our show. We are so happy that you joined from Nepal. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now bringing in Christina Rozario, a political scientist who has been tracking the dynamics of generation change in South Asia. Christina Rozario, welcome you back in our Birdsview English show. We are so glad that we get you back after a long break. How are you?
Thank you for inviting me. I'm doing good.
We are eagerly wait to hear your opinion about both the revolutions. Now bringing in our special guest, Dr. Saeed Iftekhar Ahmed. He is a political scientist bringing a comparative lens to regional youth movements. He follows Bangladesh and Nepal and the South Asian developments very closely. He writes regularly in different newspapers and academic journals. Dr. Saeed Iftekhar, we are so glad that you could give us time in our today's show.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me again.
All right, let's dive into the show right now. I'm going to start with Mahaharsha Rawal. So, if I ask you the question, what was the driving force against this Generation Z revolt against the existing system in Nepal? Rawal,
So
yeah, okay.
yeah, so it was um, a mix of factors actually. It was uh, over frustration of our generation mostly. So since we were born in a very difficult situation of our country. It was in the middle of our second people's movement. Um, so from that time frame till now, we faced a lot of hurdles and a lot of political changes, natural disasters, and in fact a pandemic. To be very frank, so it was a mix of factors um, that was frustrating our generation a lot. And so, what led to the movement was the rampant corruption, and I'm pretty sure it was pretty known in this side of the world that the nepo baby. It was a sort of a trend, a nepo baby trend, where politicians or very affiliated people's children were enjoying a very lavish life, whereas our generation and our parents and most people that we know were not. We were there a lot of. I think there's like 20% or 21% below poverty line, and politicians and affiliated peoples and their children were very living a highly luxurious life. So there was a sort of discontent with that as well. And what ultimately gave this movement face was the social media ban. It was sort of a although the people took it as a suppression, there were reasons for the government to ban the social media, but they didn't give us any alternative. They just literally banned and closed all of the social media. So that was the cherry on top that sort of gave force or gave a face to this movement. And it was a mix of three factors, to be very precise. It was a lot of corruption. There was a mandate by our generation to get a directly elected prime minister or representatives in the parliament, and the social media ban. So to be very concise, it was a mix of those three factors that led our movement. So it was a faceless movement. So it was just the agendas that led our movement.
Okay, thank you. We are getting some ideas how that revolution happened in Nepal. Now I'm going to Saiful Islam. Bangladesh and the revolution a year before Nepal. So do you find any similarity between both the revolutions? Saiful Islam.
Thanks so much. Actually, I found several similarities. Actually, if I have to coin that, we two countries are pretty similar in terms of security, in terms of regime security. What happened in particularly on Nepal, then happened in Bangladesh. So, if I have to mention that, what triggered the Bangladeshi students, particularly students, to have this kind of revelations, I can point out that immediate cause that comes with that quota reformment, or to be precisely to say that the chances of being recruited in government job with equal rights. So this was the very immediate cause of the July revolution, because beginning in 2024 June, and we had a revolution for 1 month, then a revolution not kind of protest for 1 month, then we can come up with lot of ideas, kind of the systemic injustice which have faced for over the last 14 years. particularly on campuses in every sectors of the countries, but in economics, politics, it can come to cultural, in everywhere. So what I'm trying to say here that the systemic repression by the constant government then comes along with the economic vulnerability of this country, and on top of that the job uncertainty in the country all have triggered us, like people like me, my friends, my peers, everyone just hit hard by the announcement of quota imposed on the government job. So this was the one trigger point or the immediate cause. But yes, you know that the country, I mean particularly under the Sheikh Hasina regime, it started with 2009 until 2014. So it started with the BDR killing in 2009. So it was a long like cited vision. And 2013 we saw the Habajat killing, and 2018 we saw the Kota River movement, and in 2024. So if I have to say like Nepal that it is not that similar, it was just corruption, and yes, there were some historical things also there. But what has happened in Bangladesh that the government was trying to secure their regime in terms of banning the opposing political parties, in terms of the censorship on media. So all came together. The 2024 quota revoke movement was just a triggering point of many. So it is very hard to coin the reasons only two or three single variables like Nepal. So I just bring it with the historical from 2009 and 2013, the Habajot killing, then 2018 the quota reform movement again, then we for Bangladesh. Yes, another reasons were there, the systemic in repression, which I already mentioned, and that the denial of equal rights, and actually the people who were aligned with the political parties, they gained more opportunities than the general people. All came together. Actually, the reasons triggered us, people like me, like my colleagues, even my teachers, all came together that it's enough, is enough. It's time to raise our voice to the oppressed government, and we should take our voice to the high. So it was actually triggering points. And then when did it happen? How did it happen? Basically social media, and here comes to the issue of Gen Z. Why are we calling this is Gen Z for another word? So basically, in my I also have had a study on research paper on the July Revolution. So I'm just quoting that what I have found in my research that social media was the key points. I mean, literally, beginning in 2011 in the Arab Spring and to the 2024 in July Revolution, social media is the single key points of this mobilization. Because digital activism has been proved that it may change the political trajectory of any country if any wrongs happen. So at the point of Bangladesh, social media and people using memes, and they're using very live streams, then they share posts, all just triggered the point. Even it's interesting to mention that we even changed our profile picture in red, white, and area. So did all come together? How did it happen? And finally, in 2024 to on 5th August, we just got our temporary success, but ultimate success hasn't been gotten yet. So that's my take on the July Revolution.
Thank you so much. We will be back with you again. And now going to Mr. Acharia. One of the key reasons of both the revolutions were in discrimination, feelings of discrimination by the Gen Z or the youth, and also the social media. So can you please tell how the social media and the regular media or the mainstream media played a role, especially in Nepal and about in Bangladesh? Because at one point in Bangladesh also they shut down all internet access to the people. And same thing happened in Nepal, and that ignited really to the revolution. So please address these two issues, social media, mainstream media, and both the countries' projection on those two videos.
Yeah, I think the one point that is similar, and that's the regime that was thrown away, overthrown, were missing at that point was that social media or the internet has become a very integral part of the daily life of all these youth people. And it's not only the medium where they express themselves, right? The government sees from their side, they see that a lot of youth are expressing their frustration, a lot of youth are writing critical comments about the government, about the politician, about the minister, even something like this nepotism, corruption. But that is just a very small part of the social media use when it comes to, I think, in Bangladesh and in Nepal, because for a lot of people, social media is something that is more of a communication platform. They keep it to communicate with their friend. They keep it to do their businesses. They use social media to study. They use social media almost for everything. And I think both the government missed that point, that they just saw a very limited uh, view of the social media as being used as a tool to criticize them, which is correct. But they didn't see the bigger problem that will lie when they try to disrupt this, when they try to look at this iceberg. They just saw the tip, and they just wanted that tip to go away. They just wanted to push away that tip, but there was a whole bigger thing lying below the surface. So that was the point that was missed by both the government, and where they tried to close down, shut down internet or social media, that particularly they wanted to do it to minimize the criticism, but it actually did just the opposite. It actually aggravated the whatsoever frustration that the youth were having. Media, mainstream media, I have to say that before the revolution, both in Bangladesh and Nepal, I think before the revolution, mainstream media were just they were just reporting that the youth have organized something in a way that they didn't see it coming big, right? I think the media also missed that point there, that they looked at this youth organized demonstration as something as regular as a demonstration organized by any other group or any other parties. They in a way they kind of failed to see what is boiling beneath the surface. So that one point I think was missed by the mainstream media in Bangladesh, in Nepal, whereas they were not in opposition to these movements. They basically had almost have a I had feeling that they didn't care much about these both of these revolutions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Acharya. It's very clear that that autocrat and corrupt government always fail to understand what people is trying to say. We will be again back with you with a different question. Now I'm going to Christina Rozario. A question for you: do you see any parallel activism in Bangladesh and Nepali Gen Z? That's question number one. And number two, we have seen that the autocrat governments tried their best to shut down Gen Z's voice, but they were taking all kind of tools, especially the social media tools. So, in current world or current days, is it possible to shut down or make Gen Z's voice or the youth's voice silent? So, two questions together: what's the parallel, and is it possible to shut down uh, the youth's voice?
Thank you. Um, that's a complicated question because I, as a boomer, will not even pretend or make assumptions that I understand the Gen Z, because I don't. I'm even a mother of a millennial. So I really don't know what Gen Z thinks and how they work. I'm amazed, but it is, they have shown some trends of connectivity and they have been innovative. But rather than even attempting to answer it, I probably have questions for Gen Z. Like, for activism, it was a demonstration of collective anger, right? People were angry and they collected together to demonstrate anger. which brought in such such big events. But as we know, anger is not a very continuous feeling. It's a short term. It's a short-lived feeling. And the question to these bright Gen Zs is how it is being diverted to action, because they are against a lot. There is big money, there is corruption that will be played against them, which is right now being played. And anger being a short-lived emotion, how are they planning to direct it towards development? Because otherwise, I see a couple of fears. Because I'm a question, when something happens, I say, oh, this happened. And then I would say, so what? And then I would also say, what after? So those are the so whats and the what after that the Gen Z, because of the responsibility they have taken, will have to shoulder to move forward, because there will be any opportunity that the corrupt will try to get them diverted into the wrong direction. And the one fear could be that the anger could turn into disdain to negate everything in other generations. So that can have a problem of its own. So that is a question, and that is what we try to look forward to. From anger to disdain, or anger to active watching. Because how do they want to get into the structure? Because every organization, every structure within a country has a playbook. Now, these angry Gen Z, are they getting any opportunity to go into the playbook? If not, how are they planning to do it? And another challenge could be the intergenerational communication. How are they handling it? Because they have shown very good
I would say courage. Yeah.
Courage, and they have shown very good intra-generational communication. They quickly got together. They talk to each other. They know how to talk to each other. Are they also using their skills to talk to the Generation X and also the generations after them? And those are things, because they took this big step and they showed such courage, a lot of responsibility has fallen on these two bright young people right in front of me. And how are they planning to harness those will pave our way. So
Why interesting thoughts. We will surely have two of our Gen Zs in this program answer your questions. So do you have anything more to add?
I mean, I'm amazed. I mean, when I was their age, we were involved in anti-military movements and all that. But what I was doing is I was probably asking for things. They took charge. See,
Yeah,
and
thank
that's
you.
the difference between them and me.
We'll see. I think the question you write, it could itself be a subject of a bigger program. So, but we will focusing the overall gamut of the title. So we'll get back with you again. Dr. Saeed Iftekhar Ahmed is the continuation of Christian Rozario's concern. Let me give a little background. After Bangladesh Revolution, new government, caretaker, I would say interim government was set, and some of the students took active part in the cabinet. But in Nepal, it's widely published that Nepali students said they want to go back to their academy and they want to continue the studies. They are not interested in power because they don't have enough experience. How you see this? Both the revolution came out of their frustration about discrimination, but when it comes to forming government and make a long-term plan, Nepal gave it to their people with wisdom, and Bangladesh they wanted to take part of it. How you analyze these two situations?
Thank you. It's a very good question, and the context and situation is completely different. If we would like to view this, we need to understand the difference of the historical difference between Bangladesh and Nepal. So it's a long discussion. It's not there is that only 1 or 2 minutes we'll get the complete picture, because the way Bangladeshi revolution or Bangladeshi uprising evolved and what happened in Nepal is totally different. Because when Bangladesh, one thing is similar, what I found astonishing similarities, that both revolution in Nepal is almost completely destroyed the state machineries, almost, if not all, almost. And in Bangladesh, it actually not destroy but deactivated all the state machineries. It's a kind of similarities. But what happened? The political vacuum happened in both places. So in Bangladesh, what happened? What never happened in before, even after Bangladesh Liberation War in 71, in 72, we got the state machineries. But when in 2024, there's no almost non-existence of the state. State is totally dysfunctional. In this case, there is no other ways that those who organized the movement automatically responsibilities came to their shoulder, because who will take care, who will take charge in this context? Because the judiciary, what we saw in Bangladesh after the revolution, they also non-existence. We know that how the chief justices and other, they took shelter or took refuge in the what is called in the cantonment. So this type of scenario arise, and there are some other explanations behind that. That there is a particular groups behind or the Bangladesh revolution, that but they tried to totally, restructure Bangladesh existing system. You see the continual debate that the reform and all that, the state apparatus Bangladesh inherited from Pakistan, and since 1972 to 2024, the present generation G, or most of them, they would like to totally restructure, reshuffle the existing system. This types of debates going on. But in Nepal, if I understand correctly, their major anger is actually about corruption, nepotism, and all that. They probably do not want to totally restructure, reshuffle the system. Although some reformation probably they're asking for, so they don't want to. And as a result, they actually gave their power to the Chief Justice, and they would like to start the political process again, but they're against any kind of nepotism or corruption. They don't want that this type of system should come back. But in Bangladesh context, young generations and a good number of political parties, especially the Islamist political parties, they would like to totally restructure the political system, try to restructure the political process and the state machineries. As a result, these two types of scenario arise. When you would like to restructure the system, you need to control the system. In Bangladesh, actually, the revolutionaries, if you call, or those who organized the movement, kind of they took charge of the state because they want to totally reshuffle the state. So we saw the two different scenarios in Bangladesh and in Nepal.
Thank you. Yes, it's making sense to us now that it seems very closely agendas were for both the student revolution, student-led movement. But again, there is some distinct evolution. In Bangladesh, they were expecting to change the whole system, but Nepal, they have specific agenda they wanted to change. Thank you so much, Sayeed Iftekhar Ahmed, explaining it to us very clearly. Now we have better understanding of both the revolutions. Rawal, and for Saiful, I'll be asking the same question. What Christina Rozario was telling, anger is short-lived, because after a year or a couple of years, the anger will be pretty much evaporated. And also, there is a reason to connect previous and post generations. People are growing up in school, colleges, and the older generation. So, is there an initiative in Nepal from the Gen Z to connect across the board all the age groups to the revolution and believe in what the Gen Z is believing in Nepal?
So my understanding of this whole movement is that it wasn't initially to connect any generations as such. It was just to demonstrate that we're not happy with the situation that our country is in. So as Saeed sir said, it's a different revolution compared to Bangladesh, because we weren't going against the system, we were going against the situation that we were in, which was that the corrupt leaders, the social media ban, and one extra, I believe, an agenda that our generation had was that we wanted a directly elected representative in the parliament rather than someone who was elected by the parliament. So initially, it didn't go out as an intergenerational connection thing, but so I would like to clarify and add a little background of what happened in the 2 days on September 8th and 9th. So initially, the protest was supposed to be a peaceful protest. We were just supposed to be a situation stationed in a certain place in Kathmandu and demonstrate our dissatisfaction. But what happened was that the frustration of the students was overwhelming, and the security forces could not handle the frustration, and there was a little bit of there was a tussle between the Gen Zs and the security forces, and then which later led to what we know, what now we know as the Gen Z movement. So on the first day, there was nothing literally about the older generations. It was just our generation trying to demonstrate our frustration. But on the second day, after a lot of children, students in their school uniforms were shot, and their parents and their relatives, they sort of got out onto the streets on the second day. So the connection started there. So yes, what ma'am said is completely correct. We were just connecting with each other, and later on, when children started dying, it sort of became an intergenerational connection. So a lot of parents, uncles, aunts were on the street. There were very few children actually on the second day. So it was mostly our parents' generation that made the second day go successfully. Although it's a bit harsh to say that it's successful, because a lot of government and public property was destroyed, including our Supreme Court and our Prime Minister's office, which is the Singha Durbar. It's a very historic place for our nation. So I wouldn't say that the second day was a success or the first day, but the movement, as Mr. Islam said, that the revolution has not ended, it's actually just begun. So the intergenerational connection might foster, in fact. So the thing here is, we didn't go to change the system. We didn't want an interim government. What we wanted was accountability, transparency. And on top of that, we wanted the social media ban to be justified and hopefully unbanned. The government was not properly justifying that. So, basically, that's about it. It was a bit of a confusing state, actually. We were very confused as to the outcome of the first day, because we weren't expecting people to get shot. We were just there to protest. We were just there to share our dissatisfaction with the government, but they sort of went on an anarchist spree, killing children. So that is what led to the events after. So it was mostly against the situation rather than the system. Yeah.
Thank you, Rawal. Thank you for explaining. It's making more sense that ignited with the killings and frustration. Let me go to Saiful with the same question, and also reminding you that when the revolution was happening, not just the young people, not the Generation Z, but their parents and the whole family was on the street demanding the authority government's removal. So, but after a year or so, we don't see very much affiliation of other generation to our Gen Z or the student bodies. So, how you explain this? What's going on? Is anger is short-lived? Anger is gone, and people are trying to pursue their own agenda.
Thank you so much. Such an interesting question. The thing is, I would like to address this issue with some little bit backgrounds. I really did want to, but I should, since I'm asking, answering this question. The thing is, why we are talking about Gen Z so much that we did not talk about a little earlier. The thing is, what happens in Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, in and Nepal, all are connected to the people aged between 20 and 35, 20 to 35. So the people who are like participant were mostly of this group. So thing that we are talking about the Gen Z, because the problem of Sri Lanka was the price hiking or price rising or fuels price. Again in Bangladesh, we saw that the quota system is imposed in Bangladesh, so people are so most of the people are not getting enough or equal rights to have a government job. What happens in particularly in Nepal, that the long lasting corruption, and particularly because of this corruption, the young people are not are being denied to have their equal rights in terms of government job, or it can be anything, or banning on social media. So the fact or the rationale behind we are talking about Gen Z, that what happens in these three countries similarly are connected so not much that but solely to the people aged between 22 to 35. So that's the reason we are talking about Gen Z. Otherwise, we would not talk about. Even yes, in terms of Bangladesh, we see that in language movement in 1952, in 1972, our Bangladesh Revolution war, in 1999, another revolution, in 2024, in July Revolution. The Gen Z, to be very honest, the people who are aged between 20 to 35 are the mostly participant of all of those moments. So the point I'm trying to make here, that Gen Z, or not that, if I have to mention the term Gen Z, I don't want to term the mention Gen Z, we are term to the youth portion of the people. They are being denied to enter the government job, and they are part of the systemic repression. They are part of, and one thing I have to mention, that the Gen Z people are the most social media users. So there are nexus, the youth, the media, and the systemic repression or the inequality. And the thing is, if just hypothetically we think that what happened in Bangladesh in 2024, what did happen in 1924? No, there was no chance. This is because social media was not that much widespread at that time. But in Bangladesh, and I again mentioned to make it clear that the people aged between 22 to 35 are the most social media users as well. So, given these facts, Gen Z become the most important stakeholders. But it doesn't mean that we are excluding the other portions of the society. Not. But since I am the participant of July Revolution, I saw that when we were like blocking the roads in Shahbag, we saw that people aged between 50, 60, they helped me. They helped us. They helped us that yes, go ahead. We are okay. We work with this revolution, and we are showing our solidarity. they all of the people, all of the generation people are always behind me, but the leadership too, because that the actually the people who are 22 24 to 26, they are what the like largest hit hurt by the government quota reform, the decision. So this ignited them to have a protest and against this consecutive government. So yes, again I'm making clear that yes, there is no we are not intent to come with anger, as Rosario ma'am were talking that anger might happen wrong or anything else. But the thing is, in terms of Bangladesh, what we see for the last 15 or 16 years was absolute systemic repression, particularly on youth people. I'd like to mention what we've been seeing in the Bangladesh news media. People, that news media was talking about something else rather than politics. They're talking about what celebrities eat in the morning. Is it something we craving for to have knowledge? No, we just know something facts. But mainstream, we are talking about mainstream media didn't help us. Only one single media you have to mention, the Jamuna, helped us during this July revolution. Otherwise all the media stream were totally silent, or kind of silent at that point of time. Only social media helped us, particularly the social media messenger group, on Facebook, then Twitter, and then Telegram group. So again, I'm not excluding the other generations of people, and yes, it comes within sparks of what have happened for the last what has happened for 15 or 16 years. So in response of that, we just came to the point that at least we should take the lead. We should take the lead to have this moment, to have this protest against the repressed, oppressed government that are running for the last 15 years without any legitimate political mandate. So if I have to mention in comparison, Nepal, the case of Nepal was not more than maybe 15 or 20 days. But what happened in Bangladesh, the movement was more than 35 or 16 days in a row, and over killing 1400 people. So, so this is because the people, Gen Z, we took the lead because we feel the sense of urgency, sense of responsibility at that of time that we should take the responsibility, and we have to have another freedom in this arena, and this is digital, in the digital area. So we should connect people digitally, and yes, digital connection help us a lot to overcome, I mean to success this, to have successful protest. And yes, again, we are not excluding any other generations, and we are not doing anything emotionally again, or out of anger. We saw the systemic repression over the last 16 years, and finally we ended up a plan that no matter what, there is no coming back. We just again, and we have to win no matter what. Even if
Okay,
on the day of
thank you,
August,
Saiful.
please,
Yeah.
let me 1 minute, please. On the 5th August, if people were, if police abruptly shoot us, we didn't came back. We never came back because we had a plan, and before the day, we all posted share that the day after tomorrow would be my last day. So we have this kinds of sense that no matter what, we have to hold this government, this repressed government which has run for the last 15 years. No more this government. This kinds of sense we have feel. It was not out of any kind of that much anger or emotional. It was solely a logical act, and we keeping in mind their consequences, and to be aligned with Rosario ma'am that what is happening in Bangladesh right now is not that what we expect at that of July revolution. So yes, again, it's my intake on the role of Gen Z.
Thank you. This is a matter of excitement to know that there is always initiative to have all the generation together in important issues. Now I'm going to Ujjala Acharya. Uh, in Bangladesh, it's been a year now. People have, some people have shown frustration that nothing is going to happen, nothing is going to change, corruption is coming back. So, what is the situation in Nepal? Are they expecting that things will be different? There'll be no discrimination or less discrimination, less nepotism, and less corruption? Or people are thinking it will same?
I think it's now we are in the state where we are all confused. Uh, we were at some point we are all confused. Even the Gen Z people, or even those people who organize the demonstration itself, they were also confused because nobody has expected that the government will be overthrown in 48 hours, in 2 days, right? So nobody had expected, as Mahas said earlier, that nobody expected that people will be killed. No, they didn't expect at the beginning that the state will become a repressive state, killing 19 people within 3 hours of a peaceful demonstration. If you have watched the videos of that time, until the first bullet is fired, I think most of the demonstration was very peaceful. The Gen Z generation was enjoying. They were singing national songs. They were enjoying out there. They were just trying to, as he said, they were just trying to ensure that their voice is heard. Right. One of the issues that I have found with them is that because they were born in the internet, they were so much into the internet that we have in some way, and the social and the political leadership in some way have othered them. They have said that, okay, you are only interested in the internet, you are only interested in the mobile phone, you are not interested in what's going on in the society, politically or socially. So they have this feeling of being othered. They have this feeling of being uh, they were actually in sorts of some kind of identity, that they were also the legitimate, they were also the citizens of the country, they were also concerning citizen of the country. So it all happened so quick, and it all happened uh, in a way that nobody had expected. I think they had no plan on how to move forward then after, right? So they had never discussed who will going to be the prime minister or the minister, or what are actual our demands are, right? So there were little things like, obviously, as Mahar said, they can say the rally was against the corruption, the rally was against the nepotism, the rally was against these one generation of leader always sharing power between them and not giving the rightful places to the youth, even within their political parties. And all these, they have discussed the problems, but they didn't have time to discuss how they can solve it, what is the way that they can take to solve this problem within the country. So when it all happened, everybody was confused. And even now, just I think today, after so many days of this happening, we are now in third week. 3 weeks have gone since the first day of demonstration, right? So after 3 weeks, the Gen Z, one group of Gen Z have actually formed a committee to talk this with the government now. With the government that they have formed, they are going to discuss what their demands are, what they want to do. So it's like, I think it's a very uh, the situation, the political situation of the country right now for last 2 3 weeks is so fluid that we don't know where it is going to flow, on which side it is going to flow. There are leaders, there are people who are claiming to be the Gen Z leaders, there are against counter arguments on that. What protest, the people who originally planned this event, those people who originally planned this event, I think they went into a kind of a hiding after the first day. As Maha said, they stayed home because they were so cell-shocked by the state repression, right? So the people that actually come out on the street on the second day were more of Gen Z uncles, Gen Z fathers. Obviously there were a lot of Gen Zs as well. They were still in the demonstration. It was still their demonstration, their protest, but a lot of people outside their generation also joined them, because we all were so angry, so frustrated with the state repression that happened on 8th of September. So I think it's a very fluid situation. I don't think that everybody is going to be happy with what is going to happen in next 6 months. hopefully we'll have the election in next 6 months. Unlike in Bangladesh, we have an actual date for the election. If the election doesn't start on that date, the mandate for this government, the legitimacy of this government ends there. So it will be a big issue right then. But there are issues now. Where does all this go? Because even if there is an election, who will be in the election? Who will be contesting in those elections? Because the people who will be contesting in those elections uh, with the history of having the kind of a network is only those old parties that the Gen Z so distasteful about, right? So Gen Z doesn't have a party. Gen Z doesn't have one leader to lead them, right? Gen Z doesn't have one concrete, let's say, one concrete document of their agenda or their plan for change. So I think it's going to be a lot of frustration even among the Gen Zs, even among the people who like us, who have expected that this Gen Z revolution, Gen Z uprising will bring much needed change to Nepalese politics. Highly unlikely even now, because most of those leaders that they protested against, they are slowly trying to come back into the mainstream. They are slowly now they are accusing Gen Zs of all sort of thing. It's not like in Bangladesh or Sri Lanka where these people have flown away, gone out of the country. They are still here, and now they are making their moves, right? So I think it's going to be a very fluid situation, and a lot of frustrations will likely to creep in if the current government or uh, the the Gen Z groups that organize these protests do not tread very, very carefully and with a very concrete plan to give back to some of the major demands of the Gen Z people, especially on the high level commission for to investigate corruption of all the people who have hold the political positions in last 30 years. Obviously, that's going to be a lot of backlash there, but since that's one of the major demand that they had, it should be there. There are other demands like the end of nepotism, uh, reforms in all the state institutions, uh, kind of demand which these reforms can, some of them can be easily fulfilled, some of them very hard, like as Maha said, that one of their demand is still, I think it's debatable within their circle, is whether to have a directly elected head of executive for the country, right? We don't have a country. They said that they agree to this constitution, but they, some of them also want a directly elected executive head of the country, either the prime minister or the president as an executive. But that is not in our constitution. So if they are to do that, then they need to change this constitution, and to change this constitution, they need to have a majority in the parliament, which they can only get through if they have party, right? Right now they don't have a party to contest in the election. So I don't know how all these things are going to play into the future. It's very confusing and very
Yeah,
fluid actually.
thank you, Ujjalaria. It's not very clear which way Nepal will be going ahead. So we will wait and see. Hopefully, things will get better. Christina Rozario, it's a continuation to the question of to Ujjwal Acharya. Thing is, to Bangladesh 2024 revolution, a similar or parallel revolution happened back in Bangladesh in 1990. A military government, a corrupt government was thrown out, and later on the elite class, they gang up and they came back to power, and we have seen all kind of corrupted government ruling Bangladesh for a very long period of time. So in case of 2024 change, the elites remain same, and in the negotiation which is happening for unanimous changes, they cannot agree. They are not able to agree on some issues. So what should we expect in case of Bangladesh? An example to Nepal, the elite always try to gang back and take control. That's what happened in Bangladesh few times. I've given example 1990 and 2024, they are ganging up again. So what should we expect? Should we expect a real change? What Generation Z or in 1990 the youth movement happened? What they expected never happened. The youth come change. The anger got short-lived and anger was gone. They came to their own life and they were coming back with a different agenda. So what should we expect future for Bangladesh as well as Nepal?
Is I don't know what to expect. I mean, I would probably change the word to aspire. What do we aspire? We aspire like everyone because I live far away from Bangladesh, try to observe it, but I go to Bangladesh twice a year. And the kind of anger, and I want to hone on the word anger of everyone, the people on the street, people I was talking to about the repression of the government that was so corrupt and so extractive in nature and the kind of pressure it was on the people, of the people on the street, people I came across, was a lot of anger. And anger is a required emotion for political activism. We need to be angry about things to get together and do things. So that is a valid and a required. How to channel it for over years to constructive change is the question. And how that, because the connected, the people we call Gen Z, we call them that because they are technology natives. They live in it. They breathe it. It is their everyday life. And that is why we were taken by surprise. We did not expect so many people to be so connected, which they did not show on the outside until it all happened, until they all gathered together. So it is on the youth and how they would take it forward. But from what Saiful just said, that, we did not get what we thought we would. Well, in 90s, we did not get what we thought would happen. We were aspiring kind of change, which did not happen. But we can always hope, and we should always hope for a better time. And what we hear, which is encouraging from Saiful Islam and Mahaharsha Rawal, is that it's not done yet. We are still observing. We are still vigilant. And we are all still looking at things, and they have come together once. If required, they would come together again. And we can only aspire and we can only hope. What we expect, well, it does not show a lot of possibility of change, but then things should get better, and things can only get better.
Okay. That's our honest well-wishing, is that things should get better, and that's what people were killed, they were revolting, or were on the street. Last question of the show, but later on we will have opportunity to ask each other, the participants, if they want to add or ask something to the title. To Saeed Ahmed, the question is, can Bangladesh and Nepal's movement reshape South Asian politics? If you answer from the standpoint of political science and giving examples from other countries, because holding what they aspire in their revolution, a lot of time don't hold, and people don't see the realization of their expectation. So if you give us some light, what should we expect from these revolutions, and especially the revolution of Bangladesh and killing of Abu Sayeed? It was projected all over the world that Gen Z has the dare to be in front of bullet to uphold the cause. So it's your turn, Dr. Saeed Iftekhar.
Thank you. The Bangladesh and Nepal, in both countries, if we see the history of revolution, they created a new model, no doubt about it. Historical Russian Revolution, Chinese Revolution, Bangladesh revolutions, and Nepal uprising or revolution, the way you called it, they created a new model to the world history, no doubt about it. and the future generation will study the way current generation organized this revolution. So how it shaped South Asia. Definitely it will shape South Asia. It creates kind of awareness, not only in Bangladesh or Nepal or Sri Lanka, in India, Pakistan, that if the elite did severely wrong, that the young generation will not let them go. They will be answerable. The kind of fear, what was never before in South Asia, especially in South Asia, even around the world, I would like to say, before there was a thought that yes, elite can do whatever they want. Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Nepal showed them, no, you are also answerable. People can, people can raise their voice, they can make them accountable. So it's a very new phenomenon in global history. These three countries set up an example. It's the positive side, but the other side is that, especially in case of Bangladesh and Nepal, is still the people, the young generation, they don't know how everything is unfolding, which directions this country goes. Still lots of uncertainties. And the major problems for both countries, especially for Bangladesh, if what Mr. Acharia also said, the elections already set up in Nepal, for example, if elections, everything's done wonderfully and Nepal again came back to a democratic track, it will be wonderful. But the question is for both Nepal and for Bangladesh, if these two countries cannot, go to the democratic track, there is a very possibilities and very dangerous things, that is that both countries could lead to the failed states. What we saw in the Middle East, what is called this Spring Revolution there, when the revolution could not fulfill their goal, could not achieve their goal, there is always a danger, always a chance that this could lead to the failed state. That means that the country will lead to the utmost anarchy and chaos. In the context of Bangladesh, you see that lots of political factions are now vying for power. Although 2024, Gen Z, they had the aspiration for democracy, the democratic norms, democratic cultures and values will be the guiding principles for Bangladeshi people. But we see how the older generations of elites now came back to the scenarios, and they're playing their dirty, quote unquote, dirty games in politics and try to secure their own interests. Because what Mr. Acharia said, the problem of the Gen Zs, they don't have the solid political party or a strong political party that they can represent all the youth. The way they organize the youth in the revolution, but post-revolution scenario, they are not as a generation, as a stronger, coherent, consolidated force. As a result, the old political forces, because they're consolidated, the mainstream political parties, they are a big force, they're the organized force. They came and forward, and they're trying to ensure their interests. Now, some multiple political interests are actually interacting each other in Bangladesh, all of them trying to secure their interest, but because there is absence of democracy and democratic means, that means the absence of elections, all are trying to, secure their maximum interest. And all these, if Bangladesh failed to organize inclusive, participatory, acceptable election in nationally or internationally, in both cases, it might lead to a severe political turmoil in down the road. And same also applicable to Nepal. If Nepal, probably March 6th, they could not election a viable and credible election there, and if the people do not accept the election results, Nepal will also may fall into quagmire. So this is the another negative scenario of these two revolutions.
Thank you. There are lots of warnings that overthrowing a government is no solution of all the problems. Here we do something little differently in Birdsview English program. We give opportunity to all the participants if they have question for other participant. So I was wondering if do you guys have any questions for other participants? Starting with Saiful. Do you have any question for any other participant, Saiful?
Actually, I don't have a direct question to Sayeed Iftekhar Ahmed sir, but sir was giving some warnings that if election is not held or held it not in democratic way, that there might a chance that we may go fairly state. I mean, it's as I'm also a student of international relations and having some sorts of knowledge on geopolitics or political analogy. That's fine, but yes, there are some turmoils already going on in Bangladesh. There are some factions having divergent interest and trying to influence the politics in very dirty manner, as Sir said. But what I am hoping that yes, election will be held, but you know what? In 2024, we saw a national cohesion. What is lacking right now? But again, as I am a optimist, youth Gen Z, I'll be hoping that after the election, we may see some sort of stability. I mean, stable governments in Bangladesh. Yes, there are some factions, particularly to mention the specific political parties, the PNP and Jamaat. They are having very divergent interest. They are having many different mandates, and they're trying to influence the political arena. That's totally right. But what I'm trying to say that yes, there might have some divergent interests. It's also the beauty of democracy, but it's a kind of warning for a state like Bangladesh, as it intolerant in terms of having opinions of others in political arena. So yes, I'm just hoping that we will have a stable country that we expected during the July Revolution under a legitimately politically elected government. That what. And again, in terms of the difference between generation and Gen Z generation and other generation. Again, I just trying to rephrase something that were actually used in textbook, that youth are the future. No, youth are not the future. Youth are the present. They are shaping the politics. They don't want to inherit the politics. They will lead the politics. Yes, they again to quotes are that all the I mean old, not old political person came back after the revolution and they are now influencing. That's really fine. But what we trying to make a vision that yeah, we want to take all the parties together, but like before, we don't want the dirty politics that has happened over the last 20 or 30 years in Bangladesh. We really don't want it to happen optimistically, but
Okay,
in ground reality
Saiful,
we might see
I
this
will
trend.
stop here, right? It depends on how much we are ready for democracy. We have seen in the past and also present, we cannot be unanimous in a lot of issues. If we have a fair election, then it's a practice of democracy. If we have at least two, three elections, then we can say that we have respect for democracy. We know when there is not enough support in the parliament to get to street and start vandalizing a lot of stuff. Thank you so much, Saiful. Now
Thank you
I'm
so
going
much.
to Ujjala Acharia. If you have any question or you want to add at the last minute.
I didn't actually have a questions, but what I want to add is that, as Saiful said earlier, that Bangladesh have uh, many revolutions, almost like 4 or 5 revolutions in past century. Nepal had the similar experience. You know why? I was just wondering why we keep having those revolution every 10, 15 years, needing those revolution every 10, 15 years. It's because of the reason that Saiful and Mahar said in the earlier, that our the leaders we choose, right, they are so power hungry that they stick to the power. They just play the musical chair within a few limited people for so many years that they make all of us very frustrated, right? At the beginning of this Gen Z protest, when it was ongoing, people asked me what suggestion you give to these Gen Z people. I said, no, I'm not going to give them any suggestions, because the revolution that I was actively involved 10, 12 years ago was a failed revolution. It didn't bring the change that we needed. Same happened with the revolution that happened in 1990s, right? So we led the revolutions that failed. So if I am a failure, how can I say how to succeed to somebody who is just doing this revolution? So I don't want to give them suggestions on how to do the things right, because we never had that success with our revolutions. So but I literally hope, I very much hope that all these youth, as Saiful said, it's always the youth that are at the front part of these revolutions. It's even everywhere, either it's in Bangladesh since past uh, many years, in Nepal, it's always the youth who get angry quickly, who get frustrated quickly, and who look at the future, because they are looking at the future, and when they don't see any hope for their future, then they decide to fight. That's what is happening. I sincerely hope that this will end in Bangladesh, in Nepal. At least it will go on a downward slide, so that these youth people, they don't have to fight anymore. They don't have to, another generation don't have to do the revolution. Another generation could quietly probably be just thinking about their career, how they can contribute to the state and the society, by not thinking about this need to do this revolution. I sincerely hope that, and I don't know how much that is possible, but that's my sincere hope with the youth.
Thank you so much for your opinion. Um, to your comment, I would like to say the famous saying about democracy. Democracy is not perfect, but there is no other system better than democracy in the world nowadays. Thank you so much, Ujjala Acharia. I sincerely hope that the South Asia region would have democracy, real democracy in practice. They respect each other. If their opinion is not reflected, wait for the next election. Don't get to the street and start vandalizing. We need jobs in the region. We need people to be employed. So that's the main reason youths, they don't have guarantee of any job. They are jobless for a long period of time after graduating from school and colleges and whatsoever. So that's the number one issue that needs to be solved. But our elite are so much power hungry and uh, going after money, so they are destroying all our aspiration. Thank you so much, Jalacharya. Now it's time for Mahaharsha Rawal. Do you have any question or any final words?
Yeah, I do have a question, and I have a little bit to add as well. So, I believe I missed your last question regarding the emotions and what to do. What I wanted to add was in Nepal, this frustration and anger. It was only frustration and anger. So there was a very little part of nationalism that played part for the Gen Zs. It was mostly anger and frustration. So in the absence of anger, in the absence of nationalism, what took place in both days was, well, a demonstration of literal anger and frustration. So as Rozario ma'am said, we even where we don't know what to do really. We don't know how to overcome this anger and frustration, and we really don't know how the path forward is. So my question is to Saeed, sir. So my question is, so there's a date set for the elections, and as you've rightfully put, there's been very little to, actually there's been no discussion with the major political parties regarding any consensus or any concessions that they might agree to anything, or to any demands. Actually, there's been literally very few discussions between the current interim government, I believe, but we can say that it's non-existent. So if in case, so there are literally two situations that could arise right now. So the first situation is that the election does not happen. So what would be the way forward for Nepal? And in the second situation, if the elections do happen and these political parties come back to power, these leaders that we've worked so hard, that people have died to overthrow, come back into power, that will probably cause a strike. This could happen. This could go on loop. This could repeat again. So what would be the step forward that we should adopt now, since we've already made a mistake of not talking to the political parties for their concessions? So that's my question. Yeah.
Should I go forward?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm not in a position to talk something to the younger generation in Nepal from my point from here. But what I would like to say, I mean, that the major problem, especially in the context of Bangladesh, I don't know how much is prevalent in Nepal. The major problems in Bangladesh is that the absence of democratic norms, values, and practices, regardless spectrums of political arena, I would like to say, regardless of the political parties. Although they're talking, we are democratic, but in practice, none of them, whether leftist or the rightist, that's the same. And but the contrary is that people in Bangladesh, what Mr. Acharia said, 4 or 5 revolutions, including 1971 Liberation War, if we I think it's a revolution, that people always shed their blood, I mean, sacrifice their lives for democracy. Only one reason, all the revolutions, all the uprisings behind is democracy. But the moment they select their political leaders or they elect their political leaders and elites, they always aberrate the democratic parts and norms. So this is the root cause, the lack of democracy. So in case of Nepal, 2 scenarios, what you actually told me is correct. That one scenario is that, yes, election will be held on the due date. And if all the sections in Nepal accept the result, that if, say, hypothetically, if Mr. KP Oli Sharma again come back to power and he again become the prime minister, if all sections accepted this, is a people's will, Nepal, there will be no problem. But if there is a problem to accept him again as a prime minister, there will be again severe turmoil in Nepal. This is the number 1 scenario. Number 2 scenario, that some sections of Nepal, if I understood correctly, they start raising the questions about the legitimacy of even the current government, whether how legitimate this government. If these types of questions move forward, there will be severe constitutional, not only constitutional crisis, what I have mentioned, that the danger of becoming a failed state. Because even if the people or the segment of people don't accept the current Sushila Clark government, if I pronounce correctly, then it is a severe problem when there is, so who will be with the government in Nepal? And another 3rd scenario, whatever the reasons, if there's no election on the due date and there's uncertainty of election dates, it will be quacked into severe chaos. This also in a very dangerous line. The similar in Bangladesh to almost the same scenario. Say first scenario, whether still there is a question whether there will be election in February or not. If there is no election in February, there will be severe consequence in Bangladesh. Number 2nd scenario, if yes, there is election, but whether this election would be credible, acceptable, and inclusive election. And the major problem is that one of the major political party was ousted in 2024. They have a huge population. They have a huge support base. So what will happen then? Not only from their part, even the parties who will be contested, whether they will accept the election result or not. In Bangladesh, there's always a trend. Those who lose the election, they do not accept the election result. Not a single election that all political parties accepted. I mean, those who lost the election, they accepted that. So there is again major chance, there's a good chance that there will again a chaotic situation may emerge in Bangladesh. If there's election, yes. If there's no election, also yes. There's both is a possibilities. What Bangladesh never faced before. So, what only we can expect that what Christian Rozario mentioned, that we expect for the best, we hope for the best. That's it for our good wishes, but we don't know what is the solution now. That's I can say.
Thank you, Sayeed Iftekhar Ahmed. there's a caution. So we don't know which way Bangladesh or Nepal or Sri Lanka will move forward in near future and the
Sri Lanka is better
long-term
situation.
future.
Already they have elected a government and they accepted the result. So they are in a much better situation, not like Bangladesh.
Again, it depends on the performance of the government,
Yeah,
how they are
still
treating the
relatively better situation.
Okay, yes, I will take the words. Christina, Rozario, do you have any final words before we conclude today's program?
I'm the eternal optimist. And what we were discussing Generation Z today, right? And what did they show? They showed that you do not actually need a political party, quote unquote, to lead a large movement. And that is what is unprecedented. And they also showed that you do not need one leader, one party to mobilize. There are other ways to mobilize. Will Generation Alpha or Generation Beta forget it? They wouldn't. Would Generation Z discard their strength? I don't think so. So even if things do not move the way they wanted, the last time we wanted a big change, and it took about 15 years of repression before change was demanded. Will they stop demanding positive change? I don't think Saiful is going to retire. So he's still there. So things, and that is where we can place our hope, that even if things are not going the way everyone aspires it, there is also hope because young people know how to talk to each other and they also know how to demand. And they're paving a new kind of way, which we hope will continue to exercise their vigilance and their observing change and putting in their word. So just by these, the other elitists will also hopefully be careful about what they do, because this can happen again. We do not want bloodshed, but they would also understand that there is a vigilante there is somebody observing. And from Generation Z, don't you think Alpha and Beta are also observing the school children? They are. So things will get better, I hope and wish.
Yeah, thank you so much, Christian Rozario. There's a clear warning to the people who will be coming to power, the young generation, Generation Z, Generation X. They all will be watching what they're doing. So be careful, do the right thing for the people, create jobs, create opportunities for all, not for only few. By this, I have to conclude today's program. I thank you specially, Mahaharsha Rawal and Saiful Islam, our special guests today. We salute and we respect you, and we were honored to have you in our show. And Christina Rozario, Ujjwal Acharia, and Sayeed Iftekhar Ahmed, we appreciate you so much for your opinion and your analysis, and I would tell some advices to our audience and to the Generation Z and the generation to come, and also warning to the people who will be coming to power. Thank you so much. My concluding remarks from Shahbag to Durbar Square. One thing is clear: South Asia's youth are no longer waiting for change; they are demanding it and shaping it. Whether this energy translates into lasting reform or fades into history depends on what happens next. Thank you so much, and that concludes our session today. We invite all of your viewers and who will be watching later to be with Birdsview English program. Be with Birdsview and stay with Birdsview and think positive and try to make the next person happy